Hey there, race fans. It's Race Day Top 5 with me, Frank 5. Nashville Super Speedway, near the city of music, where everybody becomes a star, singing in a bar, making it to the big records. But this weekend, Nashville played host to the NASCAR Cup Series for the second time after making their debut there a year ago. And after a day where we flirted with hard racing and weather delays, we finally were able to get it done with our fifth second time winner, two-time winner of the 2022 season. And a man that honestly I had no idea how in the world they turned that car into a winning car in the very end. Let's talk about all the craziness at Nashville this weekend. Number one, Chase Elliott, our current points leader, picks up his second win of the 2022 season, winning last night's Ally 400 at Nashville Super Speedway in a race that I cannot describe how he even won that race. Just a great performance overall, holding off Kurt Busch, Ryan Blaney, Kyle Larson, and Ross Chastain for the victory. Chase Elliott, the last couple of weeks, has kind of been in a little bit of a slump where they had some good race cars, but not necessarily the results ever since the win at Dover in the top 5 at Darlington. They haven't had a lot of momentum. They had a good run at Kansas, but they cut a tire late and they settled 2 lap down finish. Then they won stage 1 of the Coast 600 and looked to be one of the best cars until in the end of stage 2, he hit the outside wall and broke the right rear toe lane, taking him out. And then we had the All-Star race, so obviously, that's a non-points event, and it didn't matter, but he was caught up in a wreck there. Then we went to Gateway, and he was running in the top 10, but on the restart, he got bumped from behind by Ross Chastain, went for a spin, never really recovered, finished 21st. Sonoma, he had a top 5 car and a capable car of winning the race, but on one of the pit stops at the end of the stage, he pitted out of the box when the crew called him back saying, we didn't get that lug tight. So he put out of the box, had to restart tail end, and worked his way back up to a solid 8th place finish. But the last couple of races have been kind of rough for the 9 team. But yesterday, I don't know how in the world they turned that car into a car. First of all, in the day portion of the race that we started, he was up in the front. He started 4th, but he was kind of, floating around 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th place for the majority of that first stage. And that's where he finished 9th in stage 1. Then we come to stage 2. He started to work his way up a little bit, but it looked like it was still hovering around 6th place. And then during one of the cautions, they came to pit road, and they decided to stay there for a little longer because I think they missed one of the lugs, but they were able to get it back on, and they didn't lose a wheel, thankfully. They came back in, and they made some adjustments because the car was really loose for him. Then we had the weather delay that gave him and Alan Gustin time to think about what can we do for possibly racing in the nighttime. When we restarted the race, the 9 car, like the flick of a switch, they came alive. They were fast. They got up to the top 5 by the end of the second stage. And then come start stage 3, they were battling for the lead. I was like, how did they pull this off with these amazing adjustments? I mean, that car went from a bottom tier top 10 car to a race winning car in no time. And they were really giving heat to the Joe Gibbs cars. And then in the middle of the final stage, they put themselves in position, they took the lead, and it looked like they were going to possibly drive away. And then we had green flag pit stop cycle, a caution came out, but luckily they were able to stay on the lead lap after the leader pitted, and they cycled back up to the front and took the lead from Kyle Busch on the second to last restart, and he was holding off challenges from Kyle Busch. Kyle was trying to chase, but Chase, was seeing which lane Kyle was running, and he blocked the dirty air, blocked him and given him some dirty air by running the bottom if he was strong on the bottom, and if he was strong on the top, that's where Chase went to slow down Kyle Busch. He kept doing that, and he started pulling away, and it looked like he was going to pull away and just win on cruise control until a late race caution for Josh Bilicki's engine failure set up a restart and a chance for teams to decide, do we want track position or do we want tires? Well, Chase Elliott and the 9 team, they went with the track position route, and boy, did it pay off for them because they got a good restart. A little challenge at the initial get-go from Kurt Busch, but when they got into turn 1, Elliott roared her on the outside, drove away, and never looked back, and was able to hold on for the win at Nashville. His 15th career Cup victory, his second win again on the season, his second oval win of the season. He's yet to win on a road course yet. We've had 2 of them he hasn't won at yet, but I've got a feeling he'll win a road course, and it's second win on a concrete track because both of these tracks, Dover and Nashville, are concrete racetracks. So we used to call Carl Edwards Concrete Carl because he went on concrete tracks all the time. How about Concrete Chase now? Just a thought, but a great performance by the 9 team. It gets them some momentum, and it boosts their lead for the regular season championship standings now to 30 points. Of course, with 9 races left to go in the regular season, whoever is first after Daytona in the regular season standings will get 15 extra bonus points to carry them towards the playoffs. Right now, that would be Elliott, and after the win last night, that definitely helps them and gets them some momentum. And we're going road course racing at Road America next weekend, so things might be starting to turn around for the 9 car, and this could be a different 9 car during the summer because Chase Elliott's not known for being hot during the summer, and I literally mean that. I'm not trying to, pardon the pun. He's not really that hot during the summer unless if it's on a road course, but I've got a feeling with this win and next weekend, things might be going the direction of the 9 team. So great job by Chase Elliott and Alan Gustafson, and he gets that nice old guitar as a trophy. He needs to start learning to play that probably. Number 2, Joe Gibbs Racing, so dominant all day long, and they have nothing to show for at the very end. Let's start off with Denny Hamlin. He was incredibly fast. Won the pole Saturday after the first round of qualifying ended. He was the fastest. They never got the final round in because rain came. So Denny started on pole, and he was dominant at the beginning of that first stage. He was just so fast. Hardly anybody could keep up with him unless if it was possibly a Toyota. Well, then we had a couple of cautions and, of course, a couple delays. He was still in the lead, but then he faced challenges from his teammate, Martin Truex Jr. Truex was hounding Denny Hamlin and giving him a run for his money, and then Truex late in stage 1 took the lead and won that stage. And he was so strong again in stage 2, he did the exact same thing again. By the way, big news for Martin Truex Jr. fans. There's been rumors lately about what his future is going to be. Is he going to stay with JGR? Was he going to retire to this year? On Saturday, he said simply 3 words. I'm coming back. MTJ is back with JGR for 2023. And basically, after ending the speculation about what his future is, he went out and he drove a phenomenal race last night. I mean, he was so strong. I mean, yes, Denny Hamlin, it shows that he led the most laps. But in all honesty, Martin Truex Jr. had the best car, especially if clean air mattered the most. But then they had their teammate, Kyle Busch, who started dead last because he spun in qualifying, backed into the outside wall. They repaired the car, obviously. They didn't go to a backup into these composite bodies. If you hit the wall, even if you hit the wall and it's not that hard, you can pretty much repair it and be ready in no time for the race. He drove all the way up through the field as well. He had a very fast race car in stage 3. It looked like it was going to be his race. But of course, all these guys were affected by a fast 9 car of Chase Elliott. Kyle was trying to take the lead from Elliott at the very end, but just couldn't do it. And then when the caution came out and everybody decided to pit for tires, particularly all 3 of the Gibbs guys, I felt like that they were going to come rocketing through the field. Well, I was wrong. They actually really didn't get anywhere on the restart, with the lone exception being Denny Hamlin. He rebounded to get a 6th place finish out of it. Kyle Busch and MTJ finished 21st and 22nd. Ouch. That's bad. The other good thing for JGR was Christopher Bell, who was rebounding from a pit incident with PJ McLeod before we restarted the race after the second rain delay, got back up to finish 8th place. But what could have been for JGR, because they were so dominant yesterday. They led more than half of the race, and at the very end, none of them won it. So thinking about what could have been for those guys, but they definitely showed the speed yesterday, despite not coming through at the very end. Number 3, Bubba, frustrated with pit road once again. How many more times are we going to have Bubba Wallace have a fast race car, but his pit crew constantly blow it and let him down and give him and throw away an opportunity for him to run up front and possibly contend for possibly a top 10, top 5, or maybe even win if circumstances went his way. Bubba Wallace, I mean, this season, folks, he's had some good race cars, but this pit crew is constantly let him down. They keep kicking themselves in the shins week in and week out with pit problems. Bubba Wallace was very fast Friday. He was the fastest overall out of all the 36 cars. I felt like, ooh, this could be something special for Bubba, because we know that they've been running well lately since the Kurt Busch victory, and of course Kurt Busch had a great run finishing 2nd place at the very end. Bubba started at 30th. He didn't qualify well, but he worked his way to the front following Kyle Busch. They had the speed in that Root Insurance Toyota. They were going to the front. But then on one of the pit stops after the rain delay, they came out of the pits and they actually had a loose wheel that they had to come back in, and they also ran in the back of Tyler Reddick leaving pit road. So they had to come back in twice, and they lost a lap in the process. And Bubba was literally saying, don't talk to me for the rest of the race. I don't want to hear any of it. So he was having none of it, even if Booty Barker was trying to pump him up and try to give him some positive energy. Bubba was having none of it, because he was just sick and tired of the same old things, the same old song, same old dance for this 23 team. At one point, they got back into the top 10, But then on one of the restarts, they fell back. They got back up and they finished 12th place. But what could have been? And I know 12th place finish is a good result, but you just wonder if they don't have these pit problems, could they be battling for race wins? Could they be battling for top fives? Could they build some momentum for their side? Because they know that Kurt Busch is in the playoffs. They want to be there. They want all 6 Toyota teams in the playoffs. We already know that Hamlin and Kyle Busch and Kurt Busch are in. Truex more than likely will get in via points if we don't get any new winners down the road, or maybe a win. Maybe Christopher Bell as well. Bubba is pretty much must win with his point situation. And there could have been an opportunity if he had the track position and no pit problems yesterday. He could have been up there contending with the other JGR guys and his teammate Kurt Busch. But we'll never know because his pit crew let him down. So at some point in time, this pit crew has got to step up and stop making these mistakes, or else they're not going to be on the team for long. So they've got to limit these mistakes to this 23 team. Number 4, weather. we fought it yesterday twice. So to start off, the race started at 5 p.m. And a lot of people are thinking, a 5 p.m. start? Really? They looked at the weather the previous couple of days and they could see that rain was going to start. Well, we got our race started at 5:11, which was kind of the 6-minute jump up from when we were supposed to start. We got a couple laps in. Then we had a lightning strike in the area when a caution came out for debris from Josh Bilicki's car. And we had to stop the race. Then after a 1-hour delay, it wasn't really raining that hard. We drive the track and we got the cars back out there. And then we ran a couple laps. We completed stage 1. And then when we come to stage 2 with 140 laps into the race, 10 laps shy of the halfway point, the caution came out for rain. And it poured, and we took 2.5 hours to dry the track before we finally got back going. And the fans that stuck around for those rain delays were able to enjoy some good racing in Nashville. But a lot of people are wondering, why don't we start this thing up like we did early last year? Why don't we start at 2 o'clock start? Even a 3 o'clock start, we could have probably gotten the whole thing in. Or a 1 o'clock start. Well, because I've heard something interesting, is that NASCAR prefers to start the races kind of at a later time for certain venues because people like to tune in for these events late in the day. They prefer late day starts rather than the 1 o'clock starts from a year ago. But you can make the legitimate argument an earlier start because sometimes weather seems to come around 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock during the summertime. You start a race at 1 o'clock or 2 o'clock, you're more than likely could get the whole thing in or at least get up to halfway or at least 75% of the event in. But that's the one complaint about, races, especially during the summertime and this weekend at Nashville. They're like, why don't we just move up a couple of hours? Because they have to have a 24-hour notice, and they didn't have the 24-hour notice ready to go to move up a couple of hours. So, you complain and can, argue about it all you want, but, the most important thing is we got the whole thing in, and we were treated to a good show. But at the same time, fans need to understand that that NASCAR prefers the late time starts because eventually, as the day goes on, the track and the whole temperature will begin to cool down, and it'll help the drivers because in the early afternoon part, it can get really hot. I know you're going to say, these NASCAR drivers have, air conditioning systems and water bottles, and, they can keep them hydrated as much as possible. Yeah, but sometimes they can be pushed to their limits at times. So, the weather delays, they definitely sucked, but those weather delays honestly put on some good, solid racing, those final 160 laps. And kind of was the reason why the 9 car was able to make adjustments and work his way to the front and win the race. So you could thank Mother Nature for that. But again, weather this weekend kind of sucked, but in the very end, we got the whole thing in. That's what matters the most. And number 5, the racing in Nashville. So last year, the first time we ran here, the racing was pretty good, but mostly it was dominated by Kyle Larson, and nobody could touch him on these restarts and the long runs. Well, with this car, this next-gen car, and this is kind of a 1.5 mile track, not exactly, but similarly close to some of these 1.5 miles like Kansas and Vegas and all those tracks. They put on some good racing at the start of the race before we had the weather delays. They were side by side. They were running 3 wide, 4 wide at times. Then when we restarted the race in the nighttime, the racing and the tire fall off. Wow, that was some awesome racing. The side-by-side action, they're 3 and 4 wide coming off of turn 2 and turn 4. These guys just put on a phenomenal show with these restarts, and in the long runs, 10 to 15 laps in, we would still see them battling 3 and 4 wide for second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, even for the lead at times. These guys put on some good racing with the tire fall off, a good tire that we brought this weekend, by the way, on the concrete track. And just, all the different good guys. I mean, I know it was mostly JGR dominated, but we saw some other guys up there trying to challenge, like Elliott, like Ryan Blaney, Kurt Busch, Kevin Harvick was up there. Even the most recent winner up until this past Sunday, Daniel Suarez, was up front battling for the lead at times before he had his problems and could only get back to 15th. Ross Chastain was up there like we've seen him a lot lately. There was some good racing at Nashville Superspeedway this week, and I applaud the drivers and NASCAR for putting on a phenomenal show this weekend at Nashville. And watching that race in the nighttime, will we consider a night race in Nashville? Because again, this track does have lights. Will we consider this for maybe next year? Maybe something to process because of that phenomenal racing. I mean, the racing in the dry conditions, even before the delays, that was some fun racing. But the racing in the nighttime made it even better. So it was just a good event this weekend for Nashville and the NASCAR Cup Series. They put on a phenomenal show with good racing and good battles at the very end and a kind of surprise winner in Chase Elliott. Also, this race was the first race of the season for NASCAR on NBC, as they now have done their first race, and they're going to carry us all the way to the Checkers in Phoenix to declare this year's 2022 champion. Rick Allen, Jeff Burton, Steve Letarte, Dale Earnhardt Jr., Rutt and the gang are going to take us all the way down. I felt like the broadcast, they did a really good job yesterday. A lot of people complain like NBC's broadcast isn't as good as Fox, or some people prefer NBC over Fox. Everyone's entitled to their opinion. I'm excited to hear Junebug again. Rick Allen provides some good energy. Steve Letarte is a very smart crew chief because, he's done this more recently as one of the recent crew chiefs that have stepped away and doing the broadcast. Of course, I know Larry Mack continues to do it, but, obviously he stopped crew chiefing the end of 2000. And he's been doing it for at least 20 plus years. Letarte, relatively fresh off of, being a crew chief on a pit crew team since 2014. He just provides great insight, and so does the mayor, Jeff Burton. They had a good broadcast yesterday. Obviously, it's going to take a couple races, to kind of get, used to hearing them again, but it'll work given time. But, NBC, they broadcasted the first part, and then they resumed the race later under USA Network, which is the other network that we will be using for Cup broadcast this season, starting next weekend officially for the full race at Road America. So good to have the guys for NASCAR and NBC back, and they will carry us all the way to the Checkers in Phoenix. So now with Nashville in the books, we're off to Road America for some 4th of July fireworks, some grill outs, and some racing at Elkhart Lake, Wisconsin. A race last year that put on some good signs of racing here and there, and of course, can't count out the Road Course King, who just got his second win of the season last night, and he's going to be one to watch, as well as Ross Chastain and Daniel Suarez and Kyle Larson and AJ Allmendinger. Those are guys that I think are going to be fun to watch and might be the guys battling it out for the win. So will it be those guys? Will Martin Truex Jr. make up for what possibly could have been last night? Or will somebody else jump in? Like an Austin Cindric, who's a really good road course racer and had a good solid 7th place finish last night. We will see. We just got to sit back and watch the grill outs, the fireworks, and the phenomenal racing next weekend at Road America. It should be a lot of fun. So thank you all for watching this weekend, and thank you all for watching this video. Subscribe, like, and congrats to Chase Elliott and the 9 team on their second win of the season. Have a wonderful week, everybody. God bless you all. Let's go racing!